What's up, everybody? I wanted to record a longer form content video today, or release one, I guess. But so I've been pulling all these weeds, and I've been doing it by hand. I have a weed whacker and all these other things that can make it quicker and a little bit more automatic, but I just wanted to see what the difference would be between using a weed whacker and just pulling it by hand. I didn't know if it would be quick. Oh, I knew it would be a lot quicker, but I wanted to see how long it would really last. So I'm kind of doing a little experiment with this too, where so one section of our backyard that's near the fire pit, I just hand plucked. I hand pulled every single weed back there. And then on this section near the shed, I just used a weed whacker on all of it, and I took down the whole section. And I'm trying to take weekly after photo. I took all before photos of everything, but I'm trying to take an after photo on a weekly basis so we can just kind of see what the progress is there. Because I've had a lot of people asking me, like, why am I hand pulling all these? It's taking so much more time. Why am I doing this over doing weed whacking and cutting my time in half? So I will say I I have already noticed that it probably took 30 minutes max. It was probably 20 or 30 minutes to weed whack that entire area, as well as the little rock seating area that I have. It probably took 20, 30 minutes total to do all that. And then for the hand weed pulling, I mean, that has taken a significant amount more time. On just that section to the right of the fire pit, it took me 3 hours, a little over 3 hours actually. And then I guess a little bit of a spoiler alert, but I'm doing the whole section. Actually, I already finished the whole section near the fire pit, as well as everything behind it where it was just completely overgrown with weeds too. I did that. That was another 2.5 hours right there. So all in, pulling by hand took about 5.5 hours. Weed whacking took 3. So it saves a lot of time using the weed whacker, but I've already noticed a week in that weeds are growing back where I used the weed whacker, and nothing has grown back in the area that I did it by hand. So I guess if you're willing to sacrifice a decent amount more time, but you can get a better, more long lasting result, hand pulling seems better at this point. But that's something that I'm just going to continue to look at and kind of monitor through time and keep you guys updated on. But that's kind of it today. I didn't want to talk too much about anything. I wanted you guys to just kind of be able to watch the full product of this, as opposed to me speeding it up all the way. But the weather's been beautiful here. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, so we've been hitting between kind of like the 60 and the mid to high 70s. It's been beautiful out. It's been good to work outside, good to get outside and not be cramped in all day. So you'll probably see kind of an influx of all this work happening around our yard. And I know that I've had a lot of people reaching out about me doing some stuff around their yard and their house as well. So that's some stuff I'm going to be working on. I'm also thinking about doing some other like bigger projects that might not be yard work. Like my garage, for instance. I have a lot of things in here that I kind of want to clean up and make better. And then I want to make an area for tools. So I think we'll have some cool stuff that will be a little bit different than all this weed pulling. And then there's definitely a bunch of other yard work stuff that I'm going to do and get out here, so it isn't just weed pulling. But for everyone that's been watching, I appreciate you. Thanks for commenting, liking, subscribing, following my accounts. Thanks for all the suggestions that you guys have. I appreciate it all. I'm going to keep grinding on this. And yeah, as always, thank you for your support. Thanks, everybody.